You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. It is your host, Brian Fullerton here, hanging with you guys. And today I wanted to do a podcast talking about something I think is a little relevant and something to keep on our mind as we go into the spring rush. And that is talking about a goal mindset versus a growth mindset. I want to dive into this a little bit. I haven't really heard from the hundreds and hundreds of podcast episodes that I listen to and watch, just like you guys do as you're out and about living life at the grocery store, the gym, of course, mowing lawns, doing landscaping. I haven't really heard anybody talk about this in a while, and this is going to be a little bit of a nod to the man himself, John Maxwell. So I wanted to talk about some things, growth mindset versus goal mindset into today's show. But real time, we're actually shooting this podcast here. I'm looking out the window. It's late afternoon. The guys are out doing a couple spring cleanups. Rob and Mark are literally just crushing it. We've been doing as much as possible with the weather that we've been handed. Just for a little timestamp here and a little weather update. Today, go figure, it's actually 65 degrees, sunny, beautiful day, a little bit of a breeze, but not much, just enough to where we can do cleanups, but you're not just kind of roasting out in the sun. Like I said, 65 sunny, beautiful, beautiful blue skies, not a cloud in the sky. And it's just a great day. It's finally our first beautiful Michigan day where you start getting that Midwest amnesia, and you start realizing hey, where I live isn't that bad. It's a nice place to live. And, I love Michigan summers. But ironically enough, you kind of forget this, right? You forget it about maybe just late January, February, and you're like, why do I live here again? But you know what? That's what the Midwest does. It plays a trick on you, and that's how you just stay here, man. You just stay in the mill, and you never leave the state, right? Or the Midwest, because it's beautiful summers all the way from here to Indiana, and then I think in Minnesota and Milwaukee, you guys get or Wisconsin, you guys get about 2 or 3 nice, beautiful months as well, and then it's back underground for about 8 months, right? So the weather's going great. We are working on tons and tons of bids. Actually, it's been a really interesting development in my business where the guys are out working. I'm doing a ton of quotes, confirming customers. It's just working in a different capacity, right? My business is growing, our company's evolving. There's other things that I'm trying to do with our social media. We want to break ground on the house this summer, so I'm trying to get all my ducks in a row there. And but you know what? We have another truck on order, so I'm going to be going in one direction as the guys go the other direction. I was literally just building the route here, or starting to build the route, and I'm like, dude, we are going to be slam-packed busy. These guys should have a solid 4 days of mowing, and then landscaping stuff on Fridays and or even Saturday if they want to get some extra hours in, make some extra money. So it's going good over here. A lot of things going on, and real time. We just got back from a little 4-day vacation. Got to visit some friends over in Rhode Island. I was really, really close to linking up with Paul Kamara and a couple other folks. I was shooting a couple messages. Hey, if I get some downtime, I might try to swing by and hang out. Although Rhode Island isn't a huge state, I just didn't want to. It would be a little tacky if I was kind of bailed on my friends Saturday or Sunday morning. Hey, I'm going to go zip over this way for about 2 hours and come back. So I didn't want to do that, obviously. And but Liz and I went over there, visited a couple friends. They had a newborn baby who's just a couple months old, and good couple friends. So they visited us when we had ours. We want to go over there, visit them when they had theirs, and do the whole long distance friendship thing. So that was a lot of fun. We got back in late night Monday, and like I said, today's Tuesday, shooting this podcast real time. And you know what? The week is going really, really well. The guys were out working yesterday. They're out working today. Barring any storms that we have coming in overnight, hopefully we'll be able to get another 3 days in on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'll probably help the guys tomorrow, and if not tomorrow, Thursday, Friday. So that's what we got going on. Real time. Business is booming. Just put a couple checks in the mail for our quarterlies, and then also to pay off what we had for that we owed, for 2021. Not a happy camper there, but it is what it is. It's just wild, bro. It's just wild. Dude, we revolted this whole country, started this whole country based on taxes on tea and, taxation without representation. And now all of our are sending, 14, 20, 27, 28, 32, some people 40, 50, 62% of their paycheck and their taxes, their income to taxes. It's just wild. It's wild, man. And the more I make, the more I'm like, how is this legal? Because it is taxation. It is theft. It's just crazy. That's a whole nother rant for a whole nother time. But I'll tell you what, like when you make 32 grand a year, you don't really care who's in office. You don't really care how politics go to a degree. You start making, some decent money in life, and decent's relative. And you start going, you know what? I know who to vote for real quick. And that's the truth right there. So here's what I want to do. On today's episode and podcast, listen, when we're out and about, we talk about business and life, and Saturdays and Sundays, we try to decompress and just we just soundboard off each other. We're just thinking, we're just observant. We're like, hey, do you ever think about this or think about that? And some different things that we were talking about related to the house build, the business, really has us looking at kind of how far we've come, I guess. And I say this humbly as possible, but like just where we were just 4 or 5 years ago, where we were 8 or 9 years ago when we both met. We weren't like having this whole like reminiscing talk or anything like that, but we were like, things are going pretty well. And compared to where we were just a little while ago, life is like drastically different, right? And one of the like, for instance, a simple real time example is like, hey, the truck that's coming in, like, do we want to pay cash for it or do we want to finance it? I got out of debt, want to kind of stay out of debt, but at the same point, I can probably get a 199 on the truck and put 15, 18, 20 grand down, whatever. Keep the other 40, 45, 50,000 bucks in my pocket working for me, or even towards the house, right? The down payment that we're working towards for the house. And these are just kind of conversations, and we just bought a $8,600 stand-on leaf blower, which I absolutely love that thing. And we're just, we're not like made of money or anything like that. Like we don't mix the checking accounts or the businesses. They're separate entities, right? The social media thing, whatever that is, and then the lawn care company. And I'm like, dude, the lawn care company's growing. Like it's buying its own things. Like I know some people like give us crap because we get a couple, free items, a leaf blower, once in a while, maybe a mower. But the vast majority of stuff that people see, like we've bought on our own. And a lot of you guys know that. But at the same point, I'm like, wow, it's like crazy. Like we can buy some of this like nicer, bigger stuff that I only dreamed of 4 or 5 years ago, right? Like let alone just financing it, but even paying cash for it. And so you guys are in the exact same boat. I know a lot of you guys, I love watching what you guys got going on Instagram. So many of you guys are buying new mowers, I don't even know, like attachments for skid steers and trenchers and hole digging machines. I have no idea what half of that crap is. I want to. I'm going to learn to this year. More on that later. But you know what? It's wild seeing the growth that you guys have, and we're all going through it. And so that was kind of the whole the prelude to a goal mindset versus a growth mindset. And I just want to talk about this for a couple quick minutes because I think it's relevant. I think it's maybe you haven't heard this before or you haven't heard it in a while, and maybe some of you guys can relate to exactly these lighthearted conversations Liz and I were having on the airplane and just at our friend's house over the last couple of days versus comparing to where you guys were just a few weeks ago, a few months ago, a few years ago, maybe even just a decade ago. And I know a decade when you're young sounds like forever, but maybe you're 30, 35, 40, 45, and you're like, man, like things are growing, or I've made progress, or I've had good decades and I've had bad decades, right? Like one of those things. We've had good innings, we've had bad innings, right? So that's what I wanted to talk about. I got a couple practical things written down. I don't think I ever get that one right. But I want to talk about here. I talked about finances in here, business stuff, social media stuff, health stuff. I got some great tips, and at least I think they're good tips, and maybe it'll just jog you guys' brain a little bit. So let's do this really quick. Let's hear from today's show sponsors and show announcements. I'm going to get a good old sip of water from the Essentia, and we will come on back here in just a quick minute and talk to you guys a little bit more about growth mindset versus a goal mindset.
Looking for one place to find all the gear you need? Then Ballard-Inc.com is what you've been looking for. With over 30 years in the industry and 22 years selling high-quality products, we've got you covered. From mower gear, trailer racks, mower blades, safety gear, and more, you'll find everything you need to maximize your efforts and protect your gear in one place. We are constantly bringing you new products to make you effective, efficient, safe, and profitable. Make sure to use Brian's 10 to save 10% at checkout. We've made our website even better and easier to use, so head over to Ballard-Inc.com today and gear up. We appreciate the support and hope you have a great season.
All right, guys, well, let's just jump right back into it here. Talking about a goal mindset versus a growth mindset. Now, forgive me, I can't tell you exactly what page or which chapter or even quite honestly what book that I got it out of John Maxwell, but I feel like John Maxwell kind of hints at it or talks about it in almost every quote unquote leadership book that he puts out any which way. So really, really simple. Let's talk about this. And maybe this is a new topic to you guys. Maybe you heard this and you haven't, really, like I said, heard it in 5 or 10 years, but a goal versus growth. And there's two different mindsets out there. And again, this goes back to Liz and I. We were just talking about like the growth that we've had in our life. Now we've hit some goals. We've accomplished some goals. And things are a lot better than they were just 3 or 4 years ago, 5, 7 years ago, 8, 9 years ago, right? So here's what I wanted to talk about was, let's look at things like, all of us are out there, we're hustling, right? And I don't have this huge like elaborate talk, but I just wanted to say to all of you guys out there that are hustling, a growth mindset, in my opinion, would be the more proper way to look at things in life versus just having a goal set versus a goal mindset. Let me give you, for instance. So right now, a lot of folks it's in the spring rush, practical example. You hear this 100 times. I can't wait to get 25 new customers or 50 new customers or 100 new customers. I can't wait to, get $50,000, $100,000 of new revenue, $100,000 a month of new revenue, right? I mean, depends on your size business. And that's great. That's fine. That's awesome. And those are goal mindsets. But the reality is that what happens once you hit the goal? Right? What happens when you hit the goal, you accomplish the goal? Are you done? Are you done with the goal? So for example, you might have a goal right now to get 2 new lawnmowers. I want to get a brand new 60-inch Skag Turf Tiger 2 and a Skag 60-inch V-Ride 2. Awesome. Great mowers. Can't go wrong. Rock and roll, right? And you're like, man, I'm going to do every single thing I can. I'm going to work hard, work late, work weekends, sling mulch, do everything we can to get towards those pieces of equipment. And that is a good goal. That is a goal, kind of a mindset, is I want to purchase these new mowers. Like your other mowers have 100 hours or 1,000 hours on them, 1,500 hours or 5,000 hours, or they're just rusting out and falling apart. That's fair. That's fine. That's totally awesome. But what I would rather encourage people to do is have a growth mindset. Hey, we're going to grow this company. And yes, we're going to get new mowers, but we're always going to work on having the best equipment ever. So here's the point. When you get those 2 new lawnmowers, are you still going to work late nights? Are you still going to work the weekends? Are you still going to put in the extra hours? Are you still going to take on those extra lawns or pull those extra weeds or whip down those extra berms full of tall grass, right? That you get just splatted all over the face with green grass and weeds and guts from frogs and all that mess, but it's an extra $150, $200? Or are you done? And here's the thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with accomplishing a goal and being satiated or content or happy. That is totally fine as well. But I would just implore people, and this is what Liz and I are trying to do, is to have a growth mindset saying, you know what, when we get those 2 new mowers, that's going to be awesome, but we're going to continue to grow because 4 years from now, 5 years from now, we're going to need another 2 mowers. And instead of just like ramping it up and kind of cascading and then ramping it up and slowing it down, then ramping it up and then mailing it in, you just continue to work moderately hard or really hard for a long time, for a while, for arguably ever. You want to put in a strong work ethic, and it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? So here, let me give you a couple more examples. You could have a revenue goal. When I hit the $50,000, I'm done growing my company. Well, come on, let's be realistic here. If you added $50,000 to your company, and that could be 1 customer, it could be 50 customers, it could be whatever, right? But at the end of the day, is your company perfect, right? Did you finish the job? Job's not done yet. Did you finish the job if you just added $50,000 of new business? No, like that's a goal, but it doesn't mean that you can't have a growth mindset, meaning, hey, I'm going to get $50,000 in new business along the way to your next goal, or the forever always pruning on your business and pruning your business mindset. For instance, you can always work on the top number. You can always work on the bottom number. That 50,000, maybe before you had a 15% profit margin, maybe this time you have a 25% profit margin or 30% profit margin. Does that kind of make some sense to you guys? So that's something that I wanted to talk about, like growth mindset versus a goal mindset, because Liz and I, the last couple of years, we're like, man, like we definitely want to hit these goals or these benchmarks or these checkpoints, and of course pay off debt and put money in the bank. But it wasn't like, hey, once we once we get $50,000 in the bank or $20,000 in the bank or pay off a $45,000 note on a truck, then what? Then you're just done, right? So that's one kind of trap that a lot of people get into. They're like, listen, I'm gonna work out. I'm gonna work out 75 hard, man. I'm gonna crush it. All right. So here's the next part. Let's go to. I put down some examples of working out. You're going to do the Andy Frisella 75 hard. And a lot of you guys love Andy, follow Andy. I love Andy, follow Andy. But a lot of you guys, are doing the 75 hard. And I see it, and I see you guys' progress pics and posting and all that stuff. And you're at day 44, day 45, and 46. And they're freaking awesome. But here's the deal. And Andy talks about this. What are you going to do after day 75? Right? Because Andy says, you don't just do 75 hard once. After you're done with day 75, what do? You restart. You do day 75. Maybe you want to take a day off or a week off, whatever. But it's not a do this and you're done. Do this and you're finished. That would be like a goal mindset. And that's fine. Like hitting that goal is awesome. First off, thank God you're working towards something and thank God you're working towards a goal. But at the end of the day, your goal isn't to work out for 75 days straight. Your goal is to be a growth-minded perspective or a growth-minded mentality would be, I'm going to work out forever because I want to be a healthy individual. And you know what? A goal mindset would be, hey, I can't wait to, bench press, 315 or 405 or deadlift 315 or 405 or whatever your thing is. So what happens once you get to the 405 on the deadlift? Are you just done working out? And so that's what I see some people setting goals that are great. They're goals that you have to hit. But my attitude would be, hey, set a growth mindset. You're going to be doing this for a while, whatever it is, whether it's being nice to your spouse, having a fulfilled relationship, having a fulfilled, intimate, romantic relationship, a growth in your finances, with a certain amount of money you want to stack away or pay off debt or all that other stuff, right? These are all fine things to do, but have a growth mindset versus just having a goal mindset where, you know what, once I get there, I'm done. And so in the gym, once I hit, 55-pound dumbbell curls, all right, I don't know what we're talking about workout. I keep watching Paul Jameson and Ben Naiman of all these guys on their Instagram. I don't know, like they're catching the bug. But swimsuit season's coming, right? But what happens when you get to the 55-pound hammer curls? Are you done? If you have a goal mindset, you might hang up the barbells, the dumbbells. If you have a growth mindset, you're going to continue going forward. Okay. Here's another one I put was just some social media examples. Some people are like, well, I want to get to 1,500 followers on Instagram or 1,000 followers on YouTube or 25,000 followers on YouTube or 100,000. Get the silver play button. This is an elusive silver play button on YouTube. That's fine. That's awesome. I had a goal to get to 100,000 subscribers, but it wasn't the end. It wasn't where we were going to stop, right? Liz and I have posted and created content on YouTube 3 or 4 days a week, every week for 6 years now, right? Like we're there for you guys. You guys are there for us. You guys show up in the comments and the thumbs up and love helping me grow my company. And we're all solving problems together and watching stuff and having fun and learning and growing together. But it wasn't like, hey, once I get to 100,000 subscribers, we're done doing this thing. No, it was hey, we're probably going to do YouTube and create content on YouTube for the next while. Whatever that looks like, I don't know. It could be, for a certain couple of years or certain number of whatevers. I don't know. We're just kind of having fun with it. That's why I still do it. We've turned it into fun, not labor, right? It's not like difficult for us. We enjoy creating the content. But that's my point. We have this growth mindset that we have an activity mindset. We're going to create content. We're going to post a couple times a week. And whatever happens, happens. If we get 10,000 subs or 100,000 subs or a million subs, who cares, right? And everybody's like, well, you got to get more and you got to get more. And I'm like, yeah, I guess. I talked about that on podcasts before. Yeah, I guess. But the reality is like you want to have a growth mindset, not just a goal mindset. Because what happens when you get to 1,000 subscribers? What happens when you get to 100,000 subscribers? In fact, I'll give you a quick for instance. That's why so many people quit doing social media and content and even their business because they get to 5,000 subscribers and like, man, this sucks. Like this took forever. They don't understand compounding. They don't understand exponential growth and any of that kind of a mess. They get to 10,000 subscribers and they're like, man, this is ridiculous. This is like the hardest thing ever. Look, it took me a year to get to 1,000 subs on YouTube, 2 years to get to 10,000, 3 years to get to 50,000, 4 years to get to like 85,000, 5 years to get to like 150,000. So the first 2 years sucked. There was no growth. There was no brand deals. There was no money. There was no, whatever, all that mess, right? But we just kept going. We just kept creating the same amount of content. We didn't change the activity level because we were in a growth mindset. We're like, hey, whether we get 1,000 subs or 100,000 subs, who cares? We're just making content to help people and have fun. And you guys are helping us and we're having fun with that, right? So that's why so many people quit after 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, between 10,000 and 100,000, because you're in the desert. And they're like, man, like the goal was to get to 10,000. The goal is to get to 100,000, but it's so far out there. And they think that it's going to take another 5 years because it took them 5 years to get to 1,000. It's going to take them another 5 years to get to 100,000 or 10,000. And that's just not true. Usually it happens within a year or 2 years. The growth accelerator is so much faster because of your channel's got a platform, some social proofing, a little this, a little that. You start learning the way of how to like make better videos and all this other mess, right? And this is like true with anything in the gym. You're like, man, once I hit a certain amount, but listen, your body has to like form and shape and actually like get in the mode before it can really start growing, right? It's the same thing with almost any area or facet of life. But a lot of people give up when they're in the desert because, you know what, the goal is so far out there versus just being like, you know what, one day I'm going to hit that goal and I'm just going to have an action or an activity mindset, a growth mindset. What else did I write down here really quick? All right, that's what I got. All right, this is a short and sweet one. I wrote this really quick. Let me just read this out loud. It's good to have goals, but I'd rather use the term benchmark, checkpoints, because that's what they are when you have a growth mindset versus just getting goals, right? Liz and I, like, we wanted to have kids. Well, we wanted to have a family. We wanted to have kids. And we set a goal to have a certain amount of money in the bank. For us, we wanted to have $100,000 in the bank. Okay, and that's when we decided to have kids. Now, that being said, we didn't stop saving money once we get to that level or we started having kids, right? We're still saving money. Does that make sense? So checkpoints, that's what they are. We have a growth mindset versus just setting goals. Okay, so you can have all kinds of different goals and all kinds of benchmarks. And I want to buy a certain amount of. I want to buy a truck, right? And it's $50,000 down. Okay, but you don't stop working after you get to that $50,000 for the truck. I put here. This is like notes I write down for myself. I'm a recovering goal setter. I focus on habits and focus on action. Focus on measuring growth. Where was I last year? Where was I 5 years ago? Where was I a decade ago? This is the kind of stuff Liz and I were talking about. It's so easy to have your joy stolen when comparing yourself to your goals about what you did do, what you haven't done, etc. At least that's just how I feel, right? And I get joy in my life when I look at, hey, look how far we've come. And I don't mean like read your own press clippings. I just mean like, dude, measuring you against you, right? So many of you guys like 2-3 years ago, you didn't have a nice truck like you got now. So many of you guys didn't have a skid steer that you do now. They just have 3-4 years ago. We're talking, dude, 3 years ago, 2 years ago. Sometimes it feels like an eternity ago, but you're like, dude, that was actually 2018, 2017, right? So here's my quick little motivational talk for you today on Wednesday. Have a growth mindset versus a goal mindset, right? Set a goal out in the distance. You're going to have goals and benchmarks along the way, checkpoints. You're going to hit them. You're going to knock through them. You're going to hit them. I want to say almost regardless if you have a growth mindset. But if you have a goal mindset, once you hit the goal, you may not continue to grow. Does that make sense? So that's where I'm at. Liz and I were just reminiscing. We're talking about this and a couple other things and like a skid steer purchase in the future or all this other mess. And I'm just like, dude, that wasn't even a conversation 5 years ago. Like I was making like 40 grand with my lawn care company. You know, it's like wild. And by the way, some of you make that in a week. Some of you make that in a month. Some of you make that in a year. Who cares? You know what I'm saying? But for me, I'm like, dude, I'm still in this thing. I'm still having fun with it. I'm like, I got my guys out there crushing it today. I know what we're going to do this week in revenue. I'm locking down this many commercial accounts. I'm always trying to prune. I'm always adding customers. I'm always trying to get rid of the junk, the lowball customers, the weak sauce customers. I'm always trying to raise the top number. I'm always trying to improve our bottom line, right? Our profit. I'm always trying to reduce my taxes legally. I think that should be a never-ending pursuit. That's a growth mindset right there. Always continue to prune the amount of taxes that you have to pay. But that's where I got. Okay, so I'm not going to continue on the point longer than it needs to be. This is just something that I wanted to write down and maybe do a little self-check, a little self-analysis. Like, why are you doing what you're doing? What are you doing today? Why are you doing what you're doing today? Like, what goal are you working towards? And then what happens when you're done setting that goal? Are you going to continue on with that activity? Are you going to continue on with that action or those habits? I hope so. Because quite honestly, if that's what got you to accomplish the bigger things, and maybe you're in a sprint phase of your life, for whatever that means, you're sprinting to pay off debt, sprinting to get out of debt, sprinting to write a book, sprinting to get 50 new customers, sprinting to pay off your skid steer, in the next 6 months. All awesome, noble, great goals. But what are you going to do after that, right? And if you have a growth mindset, you're going to continue to hit hard, continue that high activity, and you can throttle back a little bit, of course. And there's times to run, there's times to jog. We all know that. Sometimes there's times to brisk and fast walk. Because again, it's a marathon, not a sprint. But have a growth mindset versus just a goal mindset. All right. Maybe you've never heard that before. That was just something that I was listening. Liz and I were talking back and forth. And I'm like, man, this is stuff I heard from John Maxwell like ages ago. And I think that's what kept our head in the game, that no matter what we accomplish, subscribers, revenue goals, workout, health, fitness stuff, just to continue the activity, continue growing, continue moving forward, continually trying to improve. I guess that's what it's all about. Continue trying to get better, right? All right, guys, over and out. That's what I got for you on today's podcast. Let's kick it back over to Marty, Mr. Producer, down in the ATL, and we will catch up with you guys here on the next one.
Ballard Innovative Products is a full line of gear for the lawn and landscape professional. From mower gear, safety gear, trailer racks, equipment securement, equipment servicing tools, aerators, mower blades, X-blades, aluminum baggers, cleaning products, snow removal tools, and so much more to make you efficient, effective, safe, and profitable in the field. Be sure to check out the Ballard-Inc.com website to help dominate and elevate your business this season. With over 20 years selling accessories and 30 years in the business, they're sure they've got something you can't live without. Corey also said to tell you they appreciate the support and look forward to serving you this season, and to stay safe and keep grinding, friends. And oh yeah, don't forget to use Brian's 10 at checkout to save 10%.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.
This has been a Brian Fullerton and Mr. Producer production.